The distant stars shimmered like jewels against the black velvet of space, their cold light casting a faint glow over the surface of the mining colony on Titan VI. Sophia Carter, head engineer of the facility, stared out of the thick glass of the control room, her mind racing with the events of the past few hours. The colony, usually a bustling hub of activity, was now eerily silent, its inhabitants hiding in fear of what had just crash-landed on the barren moon. A shudder ran through the structure as the enormous alien vessel settled into the crater it had created upon impact. Sophia, a seasoned engineer with a lifetime spent working in the harshest environments, felt an unfamiliar twinge of anxiety. Her hands, usually steady and sure, trembled slightly as she tapped into the console, accessing the external cameras for a closer look. The alien ship was unlike anything Sophia had ever seen, even in her most vivid dreams. Its surface was a complex web of interlocking plates, glowing faintly with an ethereal blue light that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The hull was battered, scarred by what appeared to be intense combat, with entire sections caved in or torn away. As she zoomed in, Sophia noticed the intricate patterns etched into the metal, symbols that hinted at a civilization far more advanced than her own. Her heart pounded in her chest as she considered the implications. What was this ship doing here, on the outskirts of human-controlled space? And more importantly, who or what was inside? Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden blaring alarm. The proximity sensors had detected movement within the ship. Sophia's breath caught as the airlock door on the alien vessel slowly opened. A ramp extended, and from the darkened interior of the ship emerged a figure that towered over any human. The alien was humanoid in shape, but that was where the similarities ended. Standing at least 10 feet tall, its body was encased in a sleek, armored exoskeleton that gleamed in the low light. Its face was hidden behind a helmet with a visor that glowed a deep, unsettling red. In its hand, it held a weapon that crackled with barely contained energy. As the figure stepped onto the moon's surface, it was followed by 2 more beings, equally imposing and armed. Sophia's mind raced as she considered the situation. The colony security forces were minimal, designed to handle the occasional pirate raid, not an encounter with what looked like an alien war party. She quickly accessed the colony's communication array and sent out a distress signal, hoping that anyone would respond before it was too late. As the aliens moved towards the colony, Sophia realized that she couldn't just sit and wait for help. She was the only person with the technical knowledge to access the emergency defense systems, and if there was any chance of protecting the colony, she had to act now. She sprinted down the narrow corridors of the control center, her mind racing through the procedures she would need to initiate. The defense systems were old, barely maintained due to budget cuts and a general sense of complacency. But they were all she had. Reaching the central control hub, she began the boot-up sequence for the automated turrets and force fields. Lights flickered on the dusty consoles, and the hum of power flowing through the systems gave her a sliver of hope. But just as she was about to activate the defenses, the monitors around her flickered and died. Sophia cursed under her breath. The power grid had been unstable for months, and now, of all times, it had decided to fail completely. She grabbed a toolkit from a nearby shelf and hurried to the maintenance hatch. Crawling into the narrow space, she found the main power conduit, its old circuits humming erratically. "Come on, don't do this now," she muttered, as she quickly began to strip wires and reroute connections. Outside, the aliens had reached the colony's perimeter. The airlock to the main building hissed as it cycled, and Sophia could hear the distant clank of their footsteps reverberating through the metal walls. Her heart pounded as she worked, trying to ignore the growing sense of dread. Suddenly, sparks flew as one of the circuits overloaded, scorching her hand. She bit back a cry of pain and kept working, knowing that time was running out. Finally, with a last desperate twist of a wire, the power grid surged back to life. Sophia scrambled out of the maintenance hatch, rushed back to the control hub, and slammed her hand on the activation switch. The defense systems roared to life, the turrets swiveling into position as energy shields flickered into existence around the colony. On the monitors, she saw the aliens pause, seemingly taken aback by the sudden show of force. For a moment, it looked like the defenses might hold. But then, the lead alien raised its weapon and fired a bolt of energy at one of the turrets. The projectile cut through the air like a hot knife through butter, impacting the turret with a deafening explosion. Sophia watched in horror as the defense system she had just revived began to crumble before her eyes. Desperation clawed at her as she realized the aliens were far more powerful than anything the colony could withstand. Thinking quickly, Sophia accessed the communication logs, looking for any way to establish contact with the aliens. If she could just communicate with them, perhaps there was a chance to negotiate to buy time until help arrived. She found an open frequency and hesitated for only a moment before speaking. "This is Sophia Carter, Chief Engineer of Titan VI. We are not your enemies. Please, stop your attack." Her voice echoed through the control room, sounding small and insignificant against the backdrop of chaos. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, the communication console crackled to life. The deep, resonant voice that responded was unlike anything Sophia had ever heard. "We know who you are, human. We do not seek your destruction, but your cooperation. Lower your defenses and allow us entry. We require your assistance to repair our ship." Sophia blinked in surprise. Assistance? They needed help. She quickly scanned the external readings of the alien vessel. The damage was severe, and despite their overwhelming firepower, it was clear that their ship was barely holding together. This was the opportunity she needed. "I can help you," she replied cautiously, "but you must promise no harm will come to my people." There was a long pause, and then the voice responded. "Agreed. Lower your defenses, and we will cease our attack." Sophia hesitated, her finger hovering over the control switch. Was this a trick? But then she realized she had no other choice. If the defenses fell, the colony would be doomed. Taking a deep breath, she deactivated the turrets and lowered the shields. The alien figures moved forward cautiously, and Sophia could feel her heart hammering in her chest as they approached the control room. The door slid open with a hiss, and the lead alien entered, its imposing figure filling the room. Sophia stood her ground, meeting its gaze as best as she could through the visor that hid its eyes. "What do you need from us?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her insides. The alien studied her for a moment before answering. "Our ship is in critical condition. We require your expertise to stabilize the core and repair the navigation systems. Failure to do so will result in our mutual destruction." Sophia's mind raced as she processed the request. The alien technology was far beyond anything she had ever encountered, but she was a quick learner. And if helping them meant saving the colony, she had no choice but to try. "I'll need access to your ship's systems and your guidance," she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. The alien leader nodded, gesturing for her to follow. Sophia grabbed her toolkit and fell into step beside the towering figure. As they walked through the corridors, she couldn't help but notice the damage their weaponry had caused. The walls were scorched, and the smell of burning metal hung in the air. Despite her fear, she couldn't help but feel a spark of curiosity. What kind of beings were these, who wielded such power yet were now seeking her help? They exited the colony and crossed the barren surface of Titan VI towards the crashed ship. Up close, the alien vessel was even more imposing, its sheer size dwarfing the human structures nearby. The entrance ramp extended again, and as Sophia followed the aliens inside, she was struck by the strange beauty of the ship's interior. The walls seemed to pulse with a soft light, and the air was filled with a faint, almost musical hum. The alien leader led her to the engine room, where the source of the ship's troubles became immediately apparent. The core, a massive sphere of swirling energy, was unstable, its surface cracking and emitting sparks of raw power. Sophia had never seen anything like it, but she quickly recognized the danger it posed. If the core failed, the resulting explosion would obliterate the entire colony and likely a good portion of the moon along with it. She set to work, her mind focused on the task at hand. The alien leader stayed by her side, offering guidance in a language she couldn't understand, but somehow still comprehended. It was as if the ship itself was speaking to her, guiding her hands as she worked. Hours passed in a blur as Sophia rerouted power, replaced damaged components, and adjusted the core's containment fields. Finally, with a last adjustment, the core's erratic pulsing began to stabilize. The cracks sealed themselves, and the energy sphere took on a steady, calming glow. Sophia let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, stepping back to admire her work. The alien leader nodded in approval. "You have done well, human. The core is stable, but there is still much to be done." Sophia wiped the sweat from her brow, exhaustion beginning to set in. "What else do you need?" she asked, knowing that the hardest part was likely still ahead. "Our navigation systems were heavily damaged in the crash," the alien leader explained. "Without them, we cannot leave this place. You must assist in repairing them, or we will be stranded here." Sophia nodded, her mind already racing through possible solutions. She wasn't an expert in alien technology, but she understood the basics of navigation systems. They moved to the navigation chamber, where the damage was extensive. Consoles were shattered, wires hung from the ceiling, and the holographic displays flickered weakly. Sophia surveyed the room, taking in the extent of the destruction. "This is going to take some time," she muttered, already pulling tools from her kit. The alien leader watched her silently as she worked, its presence a constant reminder of the stakes. As she began to repair the damaged systems, Sophia couldn't help but think about the strange turn her life had taken. Just a day ago, she had been focused on the mundane tasks of keeping a mining colony running. Now, she was working side by side with an alien warrior to save both their lives. Hours turned into days as Sophia and the alien crew worked tirelessly to repair the ship. She learned quickly, adapting to the alien technology with surprising ease. With each passing day, the ship came closer to being operational, and Sophia felt a growing sense of accomplishment. She had faced her fears and risen to the challenge, proving her worth in the most unexpected of circumstances. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the navigation systems were restored. The ship's holographic displays flared to life, showing a star map that was completely alien to Sophia, yet strangely beautiful. "We are ready to depart," the alien leader announced, its deep voice resonating through the ship. "You have our gratitude, human. Without your assistance, we would have perished here." Sophia smiled, though she was too tired to fully appreciate the compliment. "I'm just glad I could help," she replied. "But what will you do now?" The alien leader paused, as if considering its answer. "We will return to our people and continue our mission." "And what about us?" Sophia asked, her curiosity getting the better of her. "What happens to the colony?" The alien leader turned to her, its visor reflecting the faint light of the ship's interior. "You have proven yourselves resourceful and worthy. We will ensure that your people are protected, and that no harm comes to this colony." Relief washed over Sophia at the alien's words. She had succeeded not just in saving the colony, but in establishing a fragile alliance with beings far beyond her understanding. As the alien leader moved to leave, Sophia called out, "Wait. Will we ever see you again?" The alien paused at the threshold of the ship's airlock. "Perhaps, human. The stars are vast, and our paths may cross again." With that, the alien and its companions boarded their ship, and the ramp retracted behind them. Sophia watched as the ship's engines roared to life, lifting it off the surface of Titan VI. The massive vessel rose into the sky, its lights flickering one last time before it disappeared into the darkness of space. Sophia stood alone on the barren landscape, the silence of the moon pressing in around her. She had survived the encounter, and against all odds, she had forged a connection with an alien race. As she made her way back to the colony, she couldn't help but wonder what the future held. The galaxy was vast, and who knew what other challenges and adventures awaited her out there among the stars. Back in the control room, Sophia slumped into her chair, exhaustion finally catching up with her. The monitors flickered back to life, showing the empty crater where the alien ship had been. The colony was safe, and for now that was enough. But as she stared out into the endless expanse of space, she felt a new sense of purpose. There was so much more out there to discover, so many more mysteries to unravel. And she knew that somehow she would be ready for whatever came next. As the days passed, life in the colony slowly returned to normal. The damage was repaired, and the miners went back to their routines, though there was a new sense of unease lingering in the air. The story of Sophia's encounter with the aliens spread quickly, becoming the stuff of legend among the workers. But for Sophia, the experience was far more than just a story. It had changed her in ways she was only beginning to understand. She found herself spending more and more time in the control room, staring out at the stars and wondering what lay beyond them. The universe had revealed a glimpse of its wonders to her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that her life on Titan VI was just the beginning. Then, one day, as she was running diagnostics on the colony systems, a new signal appeared on her console. It was faint, barely discernible against the background noise of space, but it was there. Sophia's heart skipped a beat as she isolated the signal and amplified it. It was a message, encoded in a language she couldn't fully decipher, but one that felt strangely familiar. She worked quickly, running the signal through the translation algorithms she had developed with the alien technology. Slowly, the message began to take shape on her screen. Sophia Carter, it read, "We require your assistance once more. The galaxy is in peril, and only you can help us." Sophia stared at the message, her mind racing. The aliens were calling for her again, and this time it seemed the stakes were even higher. She knew she couldn't ignore the call, no matter how much she wanted to stay in the safety of the colony. With a deep breath, Sophia began preparing for the journey ahead. She didn't know where the message would lead her or what dangers she would face, but she knew she had to go. The universe had chosen her, and she couldn't turn her back on it now. As she gathered her tools and supplies, she felt a familiar sense of anticipation building within her. This was what she was meant for, to explore, to discover, to protect. The stars were calling, and Sophia Carter was ready to answer. With one last look at the colony she had called home for so long, she activated the emergency beacon and set course for the unknown. The stars stretched out before her, filled with endless possibilities, and as she left Titan VI behind, she knew that her greatest adventure was just beginning. The universe was vast and mysterious, but she was ready to face whatever challenges awaited her among the stars. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel. For every comment that says, we will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.